Today we're going to get a little heavy, and we're going to be discussing a topic that was inspired by a book by Carolyn Criado Perez. It's called Invisible Women. Basically, the whole idea of the book is discussing how this world was designed for men and not for women. It was designed with men in mind. It was designed by men, and does not take into account the needs of a woman. It basically sidelines those needs, and it's kind of like reading a story with half the pages missing. And when we live in this world our whole lives, and we are constantly receiving that message, subtle message that we don't belong, this world is not for us, and even though we might not be picking up on it consciously, our subconscious is picking up on the fact that this world is just a little bit too hard for us to fit into, and it wasn't made for us. Perez exposes in this book the seemingly mundane ways that probably mostly go unnoticed, they're not talked about, but that everyday things, this world was just not designed for us. Things like the design of a smartphone, it was designed for a man's hand, to the temperature that is set in your office at work. It's chosen with a man's physiology in mind. So women quite literally find themselves navigating a world that just was not made for them. Perez speaks a lot about data and the fact that there's not enough gender-specific data, meaning that women haven't been included in a lot of trials, studies. It was very much a male-dominated field, and they didn't even include women in their trials. For example, women weren't included in medical trials until the 1990s. Like, that's insanity. The 1990s was when it was mandated that women had to be included in clinical trials. And we think of some of the products that are designed specifically for women. They're made specifically for women. Tampons, pads are an example of a product that's made for a woman. And when they were created, when they were being tested, they weren't even tested on period blood. They didn't use that substance to test if the pads or the tampons worked properly. So as a result, many of these products do not absorb properly. They do not fit our needs, even though it is a product designed specifically for women. I am not sharing these things with you to make you mad or to outrage you. I want to shed light on the fact that if we want to live a fulfilled, happy, healthy life, that has to be an inside job. Now, a lot of people come at this from a aggressive standpoint. They see something in the world that they don't like and they want to go after it and they want to change it, which I understand. I believe that if everybody focuses on their own journey, their own happiness, that is a more effective way of changing the world than pointing the finger and telling everyone else they need to change. So if we live in a world that's not designed for us, what can we do about that? How can we make our quality of life better? Being aware of this invisible woman syndrome is step one. I think we spend a lot of our time, a lot of our life completely unaware of it. And we feel overlooked, we feel invisible, especially as we get older, especially as we creep into the 40s. It becomes even more of a intense feeling. When we're younger, we still have value in the eyes of the world. We are cute, pretty, and perky. And that is what we're told we need to be as women. As we get older and, those things are not always as obvious, we lose our relevance. And that can contribute to our feeling of being invisible. So being aware of this phenomenon, recognizing it when it happens to you, or acknowledging those moments when you're feeling overlooked and when your needs are not being met. It's crucial to understand our own experience. Take time to reflect on those experiences and those feelings and understand that your perspective is important, even when it's not being acknowledged. And that's something you have to do for yourself. So I want to share with you a tool. There's a link in the description to our Pro-Aging Power Guide, and there's an exercise in that guide. And it is all about examining our own story. And it helps you to kind of dive deep into your story, your journey, and why it's important, and the contributions that you have had in your own life and other people's lives. And reflecting on that is a way of bolstering our own self-confidence in a world that tells us we have no value over and over and over again. We need to be the ones to celebrate that. We need to be the ones to bring that to the forefront and to demand, even in our own personal lives, that our needs are important and that our needs need to be met. That is the way that we change the world. Not by going on the defensive and pointing the finger at everybody else, but by demanding that our own personal needs are not going to be ignored. So in a world that doesn't always recognize that, doesn't always respect our boundaries, we need to set those boundaries and we need to assert them when necessary. And we need to learn how to communicate those boundaries and those needs clearly. We need to make sure that the people around us are supporting us in this. The average man is not aware that this world is not designed for women. They're not aware of our struggle. They don't think about it. The world is designed for them. They don't have the same struggles that we have. They go out into the world and it's easy for them. That's a broad, bold statement. I know it's not easy for everybody, every man in the world. But as a woman, we have struggles that men will just never have. So making sure that your family, particularly probably your partner, understands your experiences and is supporting you in a way that makes you feel valued and heard and seen is very, very important. While I know not everybody has a supportive partner and you can't change them and you can't make them be who they're not, it's important to find some sort of circle that does support you. And that's kind of what we are all about here at Grin and Gray. What we want to be for women is a place where you are heard and you are seen and you are understood. And we acknowledge that sometimes this journey is hard. And we want to try and provide tools for you to cope with that. So remember that you're not alone in navigating this world that wasn't made for you. We're all kind of in this together. By doing all of these things that I mentioned, fostering self-awareness, acknowledging your experiences, building that support system, and demanding from the people in our lives more, practicing that self-care, giving ourselves what we need, you can empower yourself to navigate this world and to cope with being the invisible woman. If you found these strategies helpful, if it resonated with you, if you have experienced this before or you have this feeling, make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you'd like to hear more from me. Let's continue to support each other in this journey. Remember that your age is your story and it deserves to be celebrated. We'll see you next time. Yeah, yeah.